What do you think for 2024? You think DeSantis or Trump?
I think both will run. I've talked to people who talk to Trump literally. I got a nice note from Trump the other day.
You think DeSantis is going to run?
I think DeSantis has to run.
Everybody seems to really want him to.
He has to run. And I want him to run because I want a tough primary.
Yeah.
I want the best person in 2024.
How will Trump
that makes a lot of sense.
go after DeSantis?
That's such a good question.
Because Trump, look how he roasted Elon.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
It was funny, but was it really that effective?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, what's effective about roasting Elon? They're not really up against each other.
Right.
It's just Trump slapping him, figuratively. But with Trump and DeSantis is wildly popular, especially among Trump's base. And he's succeeded on every front.
He's doing great.
It's tough for Trump because he has this guy, and DeSantis is a smart guy. He's not going to attack Trump. He's going to go, I know the president's running. I'm running on my record. I respect the president, and I'll be happy to support him if the voters choose him. Here's what I've done in Florida. Now, what's Trump do?
That would actually be effective. That
would be super effective.
Yeah, it really would be.
Take the high road.
Yeah.
What's Trump do? Does Trump attack? Well, sweaty Ron DeSantis. And it's like, or whatever.
And he'd be like, I work hard.
He's like,
I'm in Florida.
And he'd just laugh and go, well, President Trump, he's a funny guy. Here's what I've done in Florida, and I'd like to, draw your attention to my successful personnel policies.
That's right.
Like I say, for every Rick Grinnell and Robert O'Brien, Trump's got like 10 John Boltons. Okay. Actually, I heard his mustache actually had to separately get a security clearance.
Well,
Not a lot of
That's
people
right.
know that.
Honestly, it's true.
So Trump says he's going to drain the swamp. For whatever reason, it didn't happen. Maybe it's because he brought in Bolton. He was like, I'm going to drain the swamp, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm bringing the biggest swamp monster possible.
It was a mixed record.
Yes.
And I talk about it in the book. I have the last two chapters. Last chapter, second to last, analyzes all the potential candidates and talks about Trump and DeSantis and how I want a primary to hone the winner. I want a strong winner. The last chapter is a president looking back as he passes it on to his vice president, Rick Grinnell, and how he went and did this. And part of that's the military thing I talked about. But there's a lot of things to do, and you need a president who knows what time it is and has the strength to commit the time to fixing these things rather than just dealing with the squirrel of the day.
Who do you think?
I kind of think DeSantis, we'll see what happens moving forward. My concern with DeSantis is foreign policy, because we haven't seen that. And Donald Trump, I think, did really well on foreign policy.
He did. Unbelievable.
I thought his whole bilateral trade thing, like all of those agreements where it was two agreement between the U.S. and one other country. I thought those were effective. What are those called? Those are bilateral. Yeah, the bilateral.
But he settled the Middle East war.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm old. That was great.
Abraham Accords.
The Abraham
I think that was
Accords.
Kushner, right?
Yeah, Kushner was involved, and then you had the UAE accepting flights from Israel, which was really cool.
Kosovo and Serbia.
Right? That's
cool. Negotiated by Grinnell.
Yeah.
Look, it's amazing.
Domestic issues, DeSantis does very, very well.
True.
Particularly in Florida, and COVID was a big deal. So I think the economy would do well.
Yeah.
But my fear is Trump has got, let's just say, character flaws is a simple way to put it, in how he handles things.
He lacks discipline.
Sure. But he did well by the economy.
Yes.
He did well by foreign policy.
Yes.
He did well in the culture war.
Yes.
And he didn't handle himself as well as he should have when it came to the media.
True.
But people liked that he smacked the media down. Ron DeSantis seems to have all that plus the tact. But what if we vote for DeSantis and all of a sudden it's like Middle Eastern wars again?
That's why you have to have
This
a
is
tough
why you like
primary.
Grinnell, right?
I love Grinnell. Grinnell, a personal friend. And look, I would sit with Grinnell, and when he was going over to Germany, and he would ask me, when I go to an army base, what do I look for? Not like, hey, I'm going to have some parties at the embassy. What do I go for? What am I looking for at a base to see if it's working right? And I would talk to him for hours about this stuff. I'm very impressed. But, I mean, we need a primary to suss that out.
Right.
Because that's your question. I want to, Rick, or Ron DeSantis, we don't know what you think about foreign policy. Tell us. How about endless wars? Where do you come on down on those?
I will say this. Having Luke Rudkowski on this show just ardently defend DeSantis over and over again, I'm like, that's an endorsement. Luke hates the government. He hates basically every single politician, and he's like, Ron DeSantis, what do you say? He saved America or something? Like,
he really did, man. He made a bold stand in an unknown area.
Yep.
against COVID. Or maybe not even against COVID, just for Florida.
I remember I went to CPAC. What was it in 2021 in Orlando, Florida?
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, it is paradise.
It was
I think
so
I cried.
nice.
It was amazing. People were nice. You could go out for drinks and everyone would smile at you. Yeah. And there were people to bring you food. And it was like,
they were happy.
It was so beautiful. I think I wrote an article that was like, Florida is a paradise of freedom. I'm pretty sure that's what I called it. And then I had to go back to New York and I was just like, oh God, no. Why?
And West Virginia. I think the issue with COVID
I
in
like
Florida,
West Virginia.
Florida was
I'm a new fan.
Yeah, West Virginia's great. Florida was dense. Now, Florida is dense. Mm-hmm. And so you had this dense urban environment that people who live in cities like, and DeSantis was like, you get your freedom. So all of a sudden, people who like living in cities are like, you got to be in Florida. West Virginia has freedom, but it's because you're in the middle of an empty field.
Which I love.
Because there's nowhere around to oppress you.
Yeah, your neighbor's like all far away, be like, I don't care what you're doing. And you're like, me neither.
I kind of love
I don't care.
I love that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I like West Virginia. They for the most part, I don't think there's any lockdowns in West Virginia. I'm not sure. Not when we were here.
How would anyone even come find you?
They had masks though.
They're in masks in LA again, apparently.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but LA is stupid.
I know, and
more stupid than
sadly, I live there.
Yeah. Well, I live in New York City,
but I'm not going.
People walking around in masks.
Oh,
but you know what we really have? We have actually something that's probably stupider than anything you have, which is for a long time after the mask rules were lifted, the mask rules were not lifted on people under 5 years old.
Yeah.
And so
my gosh.
sometimes you'll have this. You'll have, white, overeducated, liberal people walking around New York City with no masks, walking a toddler next to them with a mask on the toddler.
Wait. Were the kids on leashes?
Yes, the kids will be on leashes. They have those little monkey backpack leashes,
Wow.
Yeah, so
they're just normalizing bondage.
That's just insane.
Yeah,
well, they are doing that. The Washington Post wants us to do that. Remember, they ran that article about how important it is to expose your kids to kink at Pride.
Gross.
Fatherly, actually.
I didn't. I didn't see the Washington Post endorsing Eric Greitens.
So it was 2 years ago.
Interesting.
It was 2 years ago that they ran the bring your kids to show them kink at Pride.
Show them kink. That's
kink at Pride.
Luke chatted us saying DeSantis has the advantage over Trump.
Oh.
So if you look at Predicted,
I agree.
Trump's it's like 35 DeSantis, 42 Trump. But I think Ron DeSantis has an advantage in that he's actively in government right now. He's campaigning right now, which means he's getting to prove himself.
Yep.
Right now, Trump might announce his presidency early. That's the idea that he's announced his
77. Look for it just before Christmas.
Right, and so but and he has to because DeSantis is actively campaigning now for his governorship, but this means he gets to campaign actively and be in the press and get a bunch of attention. Trump, if he sits back, he's losing that space to DeSantis.
Yeah.
Do you think Newsom is going to try and run?
Yes.
Oh God, I hope so.
He's second in line on Predicted behind Biden, I believe.
Really?
Yep.
What about Kamala?
She's the worst
amazing.
ever. She can hardly
couldn't get a single delegate.
She's remarkable.
Put a sentence together.
Another proud day for us California lawyers.
As someone who voted for Trump, I fear Kamala being the candidate.
Wink,
wink. We must hope.
Oh no, not that! Don't throw me in the Kamala patch.
You know what's funny is it's funny that I basically said that about Joe Biden, and then Joe Biden won.
Well.
And so I'm like, we're sitting here talking about Kamala, like, haha, Kamala, and then just knock on wood.
It's like
a less than 3% of the vote in the Democratic primary.
I know.
Well, it's like the Democrats interfering in the Republican primaries. They're like, let's give like $10 million to this super Trumpy guy with MAGA tattooed on his tramp stamp, and we'll get him. And some of these guys are going to get elected in a world of $7 gas. You may get a guy. Who changed his name to John Q. MAGA. And he may go, this guy seems like a viable candidate here in Colorado.
Yep.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.